Have you ever been told that discipline is the ultimate key to success? That if you just push harder, wake up earlier, grind longer, and never miss a step, you'll finally make it? Well, what if I told you that this obsession with discipline could actually destroy your life? Sounds controversial, right? But stay with me, because the truth is, too much of a good thing can turn toxic. The very mindset discipline promises to build, strength, resilience, achievement, can flip on its head and leave you burnt out, empty, and disconnected. Think about it. We live in a culture that glorifies the no excuses attitude, the hustle till you drop mentality. Social media is filled with gurus selling self-help discipline hacks, extreme self-help routines, and the so-called perfect discipline mindset. And yet more and more people are quietly collapsing under the weight of this productivity obsession. They're falling into what I call the self-discipline trap, confusing constant control with genuine growth and mistaking exhaustion for progress. Here's the twist. Discipline isn't the enemy, it's the imbalance that destroys. When discipline goes too far, when it morphs into toxic discipline, it can sabotage not just your success, but your mental health, your relationships, and even your sense of self. And that's what we're going to break down today. By the end of this video, you'll see the dangers of discipline in a way you probably never have before. And more importantly, you'll discover how to replace unhealthy self-improvement with a balanced, powerful, and sustainable path to growth. The hidden trap of over-discipline. Many people dive into self-help discipline believing it's the magic bullet that will fix everything: career, health, relationships. They start with good intentions, waking up at 5 a.m., journaling daily, hitting the gym without fail. But here's the catch. When discipline becomes an obsession, it creates what I call the self-discipline trap. Instead of empowering them, it starts to chain them. Suddenly, missing a single workout feels like failure. Skipping a morning routine feels like weakness. That's not growth, that's imprisonment. Picture this. Someone sets a goal to read for an hour every night. At first, it's inspiring, but soon, they're reading not because they enjoy learning, but because they fear breaking their streak. That's toxic discipline at work. The joy of personal growth discipline gets replaced with anxiety. The discipline mindset turns rigid, stripping away flexibility. Real discipline should give freedom, not steal it. When the rules become more important than the results, you know discipline has gone too far. And here's where it gets dangerous. This mindset doesn't stay contained. It spills over into relationships, work, and mental health. That drive for perfection, that extreme discipline lifestyle, often isolates people. Friends are seen as distractions. Rest days feel like wasted time, and life becomes a checklist of tasks instead of a journey. The dangers of discipline lie not in practicing it, but in worshiping it. And once someone crosses that line, the consequences start to show in unexpected places. When discipline turns into burnout. One of the biggest dangers of discipline is how easily it can morph into burnout without anyone noticing. At first, that hustle culture motivation feels like fuel. You're on fire, waking up early, grinding late, checking off goals like a machine. But the human body and mind aren't machines. The overworking mindset tricks people into thinking they can outwork exhaustion. Soon, what started as mindset discipline motivation becomes a heavy burden, draining energy faster than it creates results. Take the classic hustle culture burnout story. Someone decides to build their dream business and adopts an extreme self-help routine. No breaks, no weekends, no fun. For a while, it feels empowering, but slowly, sleep vanishes, creativity dries up, and relationships fall apart. This is where discipline and burnout collide. What they thought was growth turns into self-destruction. Productivity obsession might impress followers on Instagram, but behind the scenes, it often leaves people emotionally empty and physically wrecked. Burnout doesn't just kill momentum, it kills joy. The unhealthy self-improvement cycle convinces people that if they're tired, they just need more discipline. Wrong. More pressure only deepens the hole. True growth doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from knowing when to stop, breathe, and reset. That's why balance versus discipline is such a critical conversation. Because if discipline is fire, balance is water. And without water, fire always burns out eventually. But here's the real twist. Burnout is just one side of the coin. The illusion of control. Here's the tricky thing about the discipline mindset. It often creates the illusion of control. People convince themselves that if they plan every hour, every habit, every step, they'll finally achieve certainty in life. But life isn't a math equation. It's unpredictable, messy, and beautifully human. When discipline goes too far, it breeds rigidity, and rigidity shatters the moment life throws a curveball. The obsession with discipline blinds people to the truth. Control is limited, but adaptability is limitless. Think about someone who swears by their morning routine. They meditate, journal, exercise, and plan the day down to the minute. Great, until their kid gets sick or a work emergency pops up. Instead of adjusting, they panic or feel like failures. That's the toxic discipline mindset at work. Self-discipline versus self-destruction isn't about how much you can control, but how gracefully you handle the things you can't. Real strength lies in flexibility, not rigidity. And here's the irony. People chase extreme self-help because they think it guarantees success. But success isn't about controlling every detail. It's about thriving in uncertainty, flowing with setbacks, and still moving forward. That's where raw self-help comes in. Not polished hacks or rigid schedules, but the willingness to embrace imperfection. When discipline crosses into obsession, it robs people of resilience. And without resilience, even the strongest systems collapse, which leads us to an even deeper danger. The emotional toll of toxic discipline. Most people think discipline only affects their schedule or productivity, but the emotional cost is often the heaviest. The obsession with discipline can quietly plant seeds of guilt and shame. If every slip-up feels like failure, then every human moment, like resting, enjoying a meal, or even laughing with friends, starts to feel wrong. This is how mindset discipline motivation can backfire, turning into self-punishment rather than self-improvement. Picture someone who skips the gym one day. Instead of moving on, they spiral. I'm weak. I'll never succeed. I lack willpower. That's not growth. That's self-sabotage. The dangers of discipline aren't just physical exhaustion, but emotional exhaustion. People end up measuring their worth by productivity alone, and that's a dangerous equation. Hustle culture burnout convinces people their value equals output, leaving them trapped in a cycle of constant comparison and silent suffering. The emotional weight doesn't stop there. Relationships take the hit too. Someone living in an extreme discipline lifestyle may push loved ones away, dismissing them as distractions. Friends invite them out. They decline because it's not on schedule. A partner wants quality time. They treat it like a task. In chasing the perfect self-help discipline, they forget the human side of growth. And once emotions are starved, life becomes robotic. But here's the kicker. The toll on emotions is only part of the story. Finding balance beyond the discipline. Obsession. After all this, it's clear. Discipline alone isn't the problem. It's when discipline goes too far. The antidote isn't abandoning structure, but learning balance versus discipline. Think of it like music. Discipline is the rhythm, but balance is the melody. Without both, the song falls flat. Real personal growth discipline means knowing when to push and when to pause, when to grind and when to breathe. That's how you avoid the trap of self-discipline versus self-destruction. Here's a practical shift. Instead of obsessing over rigid routines, focus on flexible frameworks. For example, instead of demanding, I must work out at 6 a.m. daily, reframe it as, I'll move my body 5 times this week, morning or evening, gym or park. That's mindset discipline motivation used wisely. It gives structure without strangling freedom. The difference between toxic discipline and healthy growth is simple. One imprisons, the other empowers. And don't forget, mental health and discipline go hand in hand. Balance means valuing rest as much as effort. It's okay to binge a show, enjoy pizza, or skip a routine once in a while. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Extreme self-help ignores this truth, but raw self-help embraces it. Growth isn't about perfection, it's about sustainability. And once you unlock that mindset, you'll see discipline not as a cage, but as a tool you control, not the other way around. Which raises the final question: how do you start applying this balance today? So here's the truth. Discipline can either build your life or quietly destroy it. The line between personal growth discipline and toxic discipline is razor thin, and most people cross it without even realizing. That's why balance isn't optional, it's survival. Because what good is the perfect morning routine, the flawless body, or the endless to-do list if you're miserable inside? Now ask yourself, have you been living in a way that empowers you or in a way that enslaves you? Have you mistaken hustle culture burnout for success? Have you confused obsession with discipline for progress? Maybe it's time to challenge that overworking mindset and start asking better questions. Does this routine serve me? Does it energize me? Does it make me feel alive? If the answer is no, it's not discipline, it's destruction. Here's my challenge to you. Starting today, give yourself permission to step off the hamster wheel. Redefine what productivity obsession means for you. Experiment with balance versus discipline in your daily life. And if you're ready to keep growing without falling into the self-discipline trap, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because on this channel, we don't just talk about self-improvement, we talk about healthy self-improvement. Now let me ask you, are you ready to stop over-disciplining and start actually living?